Welcome. Disneyland is your land.
This guy built the biggest entertainment empire in the world.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
But who knew that all his efforts would be on the verge of going down the gutter? Picture this. It was the early 1920s, and Walt was slaving away at a job for a commercial art studio. His worst fears were realized when his studio declared bankruptcy, and he was out of a job. Rather than work for someone else, Walt wanted to start something of his own. It took him a bunch of failures, but Walt had luck on his side. Remember the first job he was laid off of? Walt made a very important friend while working there. This was Ub Iwerks. Together with him and his brother Roy, Walt eventually founded the Disney Brothers Studio. The studio's first success came with Steamboat Willie in 1928, which introduced a character the company became synonymous with, Mickey Mouse. It also helped that the animated film pushed the boundaries of animation. It was unlike anything else at the time. The boat was still rocky, and the company was still barely making a profit, but Walt kept at it because he believed in the vision for the company's future. Unfortunately, it wasn't until after his death that the Disney company realized its full potential. From the 1980s to the 1990s, the company's stock grew in leaps and bounds. Disney was now the largest entertainment empire in the world. For Disney, the stakes are even higher. As a company built on magic, family values, and universal appeal, its brand image is central to its success. But in recent years, Disney's decisions have alienated both ends of the political spectrum, threatening to dismantle its carefully constructed legacy. Have they managed to piss off everyone? The problem started in 2022, when Disney opposed Florida's Don't Say Gay bill, sparking a high-profile clash with Governor Ron DeSantis. Disney's support for LGBTQ+ representation, such as the same-sex kiss in Lightyear, further fueled accusations of wokeness, leading some families to boycott its parks and products. On the flip side, progressives have called out Disney's perceived hypocrisy. Despite promoting inclusivity, the company has faced allegations of workplace harassment and sexual abuse, undermining its claims of fostering a safe environment. Massive layoffs in 2023, disproportionately affecting low-wage workers, painted Disney as prioritizing profits over people. Gender pay disparity lawsuits, including a $4.3 million settlement in 2024, further exposed internal inequities. Perhaps most damning was Disney's legal move to block a man from suing over his wife's death at a resort, citing terms of service from its streaming platform. Disney had realized its final form as a cold corporate tactician, reinforcing the image of a company more interested in protecting itself than living up to its ideals. You see, during its most successful era, Disney was focused on fostering creativity and making good IP. In what came to be known as Disney's Renaissance, they were the market leaders in making animated movies that appealed to audiences of all ages. But they were getting a little too good though, even for themselves. Films like Toy Story, Little Mermaid, Lion King, and The Beauty and the Beast created the benchmark for animated movies in the years to come. But it was something even Disney struggled to recreate. Disney found itself in a creative rut, and it didn't help that the animated movies that made the company so great were being quickly driven out by CGI movies. Enter the rivals. Pixar, a relatively unknown studio up until the 90s, was starting to look like a threat. Their first film, a CGI animated movie called Toy Story, was the second highest grossing film of 1995, making $375 million. They exploded again with Monsters, Inc., and Disney was starting to worry. It didn't help that a former executive of theirs had also started a rival animation studio, DreamWorks, which was coming in hot with Chicken Run and Shrek. It was either adapt or die for Disney. Disney changes, but Disney still had an ace up its sleeve. Why compete at all? It was a move that would haunt them further down the line, but for the moment, it was their only option. They eventually ended up buying the competition. Disney Pixar had the connections of Disney and the creativity of Pixar. Their animated movies once again started to see profits, like that of the Renaissance era. But Disney was a money-hungry monster by now. Conquering animation didn't feel enough. There was still something that eluded it: live action. Despite all their success, Disney still couldn't figure out how to capitalize on the live-action genre of films. But rather than fixing it with ingenious filmmaking, they fell back into an old habit: acquisition. This time, it was Marvel Studios. Although the move wasn't appreciated by fans of Marvel, they could still breathe a sigh of relief with the news that Marvel's president would still helm the projects under the merger. Feige intended to weave an interconnected universe of movies, all leading to the culmination of Avengers Endgame. The movie ended up grossing $2.7 billion worldwide, beating the record set up by its own predecessor, Avengers Infinity War, at $2 billion. However, it wasn't only Marvel Disney was interested in. They ended up acquiring Lucasfilms too, and making a huge profit off of the Star Wars films as well. Although it may feel like Disney was being carried by its acquisitions, the multi-million-dollar giant was starting to crack the formula that led to blockbuster films. What proved it was Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen's success, which made a combined $1.7 billion at the box office. Disney was finally getting in its groove after being down and out for what felt like ages. But while it was focused on profits, something dark brewed underneath, ignoring sexual harassment on the job. It all started when John Lasseter, the chief creative officer of Disney and Pixar Animation Studios, took a leave of absence in 2017. This came after multiple allegations surfaced against him making unwanted advances against employees. He ended up being fired, and from the looks of it, took all the profits with him. Since his departure, Pixar has been struggling, and it's no secret either. Onward, Soul, Luca, Turning Red, all movies that debuted after John's departure have been flops or have barely managed to turn up a profit. Although unrelated to John, Marvel hasn't done that well either. With the exception of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, every other movie they have put out hasn't done that well at the box office. This is a concerning trend. Since Disney's used to the success of the previous decades, it can't function with a few blockbusters every once in a while. Sure, sequels of Frozen and Moana have both done well, but they don't pay the bills of a conglomerate like Disney. But should a company that has diversified so much over the last few decades even care if its entertainment division isn't doing that well? Think about it. The whole idea with Disney's relentless acquisition in the 2000s to 2010s was to safeguard itself from exactly this sort of situation. So why does it matter how Disney makes a profit? A quick look at Disney's financials will reveal that its profits are divided into two main sources of revenue: entertainment and experiences. The former of the two is what Disney is best known for, but the latter is how Disney really makes money. Each Disney movie, from Frozen to The Lion King, isn't just a standalone product. It's the seed of a vast ecosystem. These stories generate immediate revenue through box office sales, but it's the parks that really profit off of them. These parks are financial juggernauts. Ticket sales, in-park spending on food and merchandise, and hotel stays contribute billions annually. So Disney should be safe, right? Well, no. The big appeal of Disney movies is that they're made for the everyday man. And until recently, this hypothetical person was able to enjoy the experience of being in a Disney movie at one of Disney's infamous parks. So it wasn't just the ticket to the movie that Disney was making a profit off of. It was a ticket to one of its theme parks as well. That was until a ticket to that experience started costing $147 a day, a surprising increase from $89 a day in 2012. And this price still doesn't take into account food, merchandise, lightning lanes like the Genie Plus, which lets you skip lines, hotels, and airfare, all of which have suffered a similar price hike. Include all of that, and a trip to Disneyland is no less than a fantasy for the middle class. Of course, pricing has a lot to do with how the Disney's Experiences division hasn't held up that well, but there might be a deeper problem at play here. Remember how entertainment is the spectacle, while experiences is the profit. Well, when the spectacle isn't attracting that much attention, it's no wonder that people aren't turning up at the parks either. It's a continuous feedback loop. This brings to mind the question, will Disney eventually be able to recover? Turns out they might have dug themselves a deeper hole than anticipated, and that hole has to do with their brand perception. The problem with Disney's brand image: consider Apple, synonymous with innovation and simplicity, Nike, championing empowerment and athleticism, or Coca-Cola, representing happiness and nostalgia. These companies thrive because their brand images resonate deeply with their audiences, transcending mere products. However, when a brand falters, the consequences can be devastating. Think of Facebook's struggles with public trust following data privacy scandals, or Uber's tarnished reputation after controversies surrounding its corporate culture. In both cases, their brand identities took a hit, and rebuilding trust has been an uphill battle. Disney's once untouchable reputation now teeters on the edge, leaving many to wonder if the magic can ever truly return.